Hey guys! In this Patreon-only video we will draw an oil landscape inspired by the Leonid Afremov's style. He has absolutely gorgeous paintings with amazing vivid colors. Before we begin, please download all tutorial files, including the color palette, via the link in the post. Now if you are ready, let's grab our pencils and get started. I've gone ahead and created a canvas with the dimensions of 2000 by 2500 pixels, and DPI is set to 300. Also, I prepared a simple sketch of a sailboat that I will import into the project right now. You will find it in the tutorial files. Let's now create a new layer and place it under the sketch. Also, I will lower the opacity of the sketch layer to around 40%. And now we can start painting it. I'm going to use oil paint brushes that we created in the latest brush making video. If you don't have the set, please download it in the tutorial files as well. From the set I will select Oil Paint 5. If you created this brush with me, you must remember that it has secondary color. So we need to select two colors instead of one. For that we need to go to the color disk and tap on the first color. From the color palette, I will pick the color called Kelly. Today all the colors are named after my patrons. If you don't see your name yet, no offense, you will see it in the upcoming tutorials. For the second color, we need to tap here. Also go to the color palette, and as the secondary color, I will pick a color called Brenda. It's here on the right. We can see them both here now. Let's set the size to around 26 or 25% and start tapping inside this big triangle on the right. I will try to keep no gaps between the strokes, and they may go slightly outside the shape. We will fix it later. We can try to change the direction and also pressure. And the colors we are getting are actually in the range between these two colors that we selected. So the darkest one is Kelly and the lightest one is Brenda. Even if you have some tiny gaps, it is fine. We will remove them. Let's just finish tapping or making short strokes if you like. And after that we can start making adjustments. First I will go to Adjustment section and select Liquify. I will switch to Edge. Distortion and momentum are at none here, but I set pressure to maximum. Let's try to lower the size. I will start with 26% and work on this edge first, here at the bottom. I'm making the strokes following this line. Let's also work on the corner and continue going up. You can move your pencil slightly to the sides. Here we can lower the size to around 15% or maybe 20%. And finish it. Let me adjust this corner. I will be using push here. And this part will be covered. We actually don't need to fix it. I will just remove all the white gaps between the mast and the sail. After we did that, let's also work on these lines inside. So I will be just making strokes like this. Back and forth. Let's do it here on the second one. Then on the next one that is going up. And the last one here. If we now remove the sketch, we will see this. It has a few segments that are clearly seen. Right now I will duplicate the layer and set its blending mode to soft light, just to make the colors brighter, but then I will lower the opacity to 50% to make it not very bright. This is the difference. We can actually clip the layer and then create a new one above. Let's also clip it and set to soft light. I will start adding shadows and highlights. For the shadows, let's select black color from the color disk. We only need to double tap here at the bottom. Also in the brushes, I will select Oil Paint 2. This brush doesn't have any dynamics in colors. Let's start making strokes here, close to the mast, and also this way. Under each line. Let's go down and shade this one. I will first lower the brush size. It is now at 5%. I will darken a line here. Let's do the same on this one. And on the last one as well. But then I will increase the size and make more strokes. We can darken the area like this, on the left side of each part. Go even more down here in the center. And finally shade it here. We can do it by tapping as well, to get the texture. Let's work a little more on this part. And once we have the shadows, let's work on the highlights. I think I will create another layer, because I will be using a different blending mode. It will be overlay. Let's not forget to clip the layer and then change the blending mode. As I already said, it will be overlay. We can actually pick white color right from the background and use the same brush. Let's also set it to around 5% and start adding highlights above each line, like this. And also on the opposite side. Let's add more highlights here and also at the bottom. I will increase the brush size and make strokes like this. Let's continue doing it and highlight each part this way. Let me make it smaller so I will be more accurate. And then we can just tap a few times inside each part. Let's now remove the sketch again and see what we got. I will just highlight it a little more on this edge. Making vertical strokes. Now let's go back to the color palette and select a color called Tracy. I will continue using the same brush, but create a new layer that will be in normal mode. Actually, we can already merge these four. Let's now go to the new one and make the brush size very low, around 2%. I will just make lines like this to separate each segment from each other. When we make a few strokes on the same place, the color will get slightly darker on the intersection. I think I will lower it even more to 1% and finish it like this. Making strokes back and forth. So we will get these colors. Now we can also pick white color and paint a little bit on the right side, on the edge. I will also paint at the bottom. And this will be enough. Let's bring back the sketch layer. We can merge these two layers and create another one for the left part of the sail. Let's go back to the previous brush, which has a secondary color. It is Oil Paint 5. Here in the color disk, for the primary color, I will select the color called Brenda. And for the secondary color, let's select Elizabeth. The brush size is set to around 30% or 31%, and I will first paint this line on the left side. Painting like this. We can still keep tiny gaps between the paint strokes, and it may intersect the lines on the sides. It is totally fine. Let's continue tapping. You can try to rotate the canvas or make strokes in different directions. So they intersect in each other. Let's finish it quickly. A few more strokes. They may go outside on the edge as well. Okay. And now we can change the colors. I will keep Elizabeth and change Brenda into Gary. Now let's paint this part in the middle, also by tapping. I'm actually making short strokes and pressing on the pencil a little bit. You can try to tap a few times on the same place to get a better color combination. I will move down, paint it this way. And we can finish it here at the bottom. Now let's go even darker, and this time I will change both colors. So first let's select Tracy. And for the secondary color, I will pick Erin. We only need to paint this triangle on the right. Exactly same way. The colors may intersect a little bit. Let's paint more here. Alright. And now we can start working on the edges. So let's go to Adjustments and select Liquify first. It is already set to Edge. We can set the size to 25% and make strokes like this on the edge until it becomes straight. Now let's work on the right side and go up. Since the canvas is turned, it looks like I'm going down actually. Let's work on this corner. I will paint it this way. Make sure it doesn't go outside the mast, but it may intersect it a little. Now the edges are fine. Let's continue working inside the shape. First I will work on the horizontal lines and also paint like this, making strokes back and forth. Let's continue on this one. I'm using the same brush size, going more up. Let's now work here. Then on this one. Here we can try to lower the size a little bit to 21 or 22%, since the shapes are smaller. We have a couple of more lines left. Let me make it straight. We need to lower the size and work on the last one. Now let's also work on the edges between the colors. I will set it to 20%. And go on this line first, between yellow and orange, making this arc. We need to fix the edge here. Use push. Then I will switch back to edge and finish this transition between orange and dark red. So I'm first making the straight line for the triangle, and we can also push it here. Let's try to remove the sketch in C. All the lines are visible, so we can duplicate the layer and set it to soft light. make the colors brighter. But then I will lower the opacity to 50% as well, same as we did on the sail that is on the right side. We can see the difference. Let's now clip this layer, then create a new one and also clip it. I will start adding shadows, and for that I will set the layers mode to soft light again. Then grab black color from the color disk by double tapping here. Let's also select the brush that doesn't have color dynamics. It is oil paint 2. To see the lines better, we can actually use the sketch. So I will first set the size to around 5% and darken areas under each line that goes horizontal, like this. Let's try not to cross it, because we will add a highlight on top. Let's work on this one. Then here. And the last one. After that we can increase the size. Set it to around 13 or 15%. And start darkening the area close to the mast. Draw sort of triangles on each part. Like this. Darkening each part on the right side. Let's go down and paint on the last part, here on the right. After the shadows, we also need to add highlights. Let me just paint it here on the right side of the triangle. Okay. For the highlights I will create one more layer and then clip it. Actually we could locate highlights on the layer with a soft light, but they would be too pale. I want to make them brighter, and in this case overlay will work better. So I'm picking white color now. Let's set the size to around 10% and start tapping inside each yellow part. We can do it on the orange as well. Just here and there. We will also see the texture. That is what I wanted to achieve. Now we can make the size smaller, at around 2 or 3%, and paint above each horizontal line to highlight it. Like this. Just a couple of more strokes. And also here at the bottom. Let's work a little bit on the left side with a bigger size. Just adding highlights like this. This way we are adding some dynamics to the sails with different color variations. Now we can merge these 4 layers and create the last one. We just need to make the size very low, between 1 and 2%. Now I will remove the sketch. We can see all these lines already. So I will start making strokes here, between all small parts. First go vertically, and then also horizontally, making strokes between the highlight and the shadow. It may go slightly on the orange part. A few more strokes here. We can also paint right on the edge. So let me remove background color. And do it like this. This way we can see it better. Now all these gaps are more visible, but soon we will remove them. I will just paint now at the bottom of the sail. Let's bring back the background color. I will merge these two layers. Actually, we can merge these two as well. And I will create a layer below. In the color palette, I will select the color called Camilla. Increase the size. And start making strokes under the sails. To paint all the white parts. This way we will remove the gaps. And get even more colors. Let's finish it here at the bottom. We also need to paint on the dark part. Here. And then I will remove white gaps on the right side. I'm making strokes up and down. Until it is all painted. Just a few more strokes to be sure. And the sails are ready. Let's draw the mast. For that I will create a layer above the sails. For the mast I will pick a color called Celeste. Let's lower the brush size. At around 3% will work. And I will start making strokes up and down. To paint it like this. According to the sketch. At the bottom it is getting wider. So let's also do it. A couple of more strokes. And it is painted. We can only add the highlight, so I will pick white color and paint right on the same layer. Just make the size smaller. I will paint inside. If you press more, the color will pop up even more from the dark color. And it will be highlighted. Okay. I think this will be enough. The sails are ready. Let's continue working on the boat. We can now merge these 3 layers and create another one above. I will start painting the boat using color blender. The brush that we have now will work fine here. Let's just increase the size a little bit. At around 7 or 6%. And paint it horizontally. When painting, I'm lifting the pencil up, so on the intersection, the color is changing a little. Let's paint it this way. We can lower the size to work on the edges. Let's finish it here on the front. Let's paint the arc. And I will also paint on this side to make it straight. A few more horizontal strokes. And we can check it out. I will continue working without the sketch, so we can see the edges better. Now that we have the shape already, let's add a few more colors to it. I will start with Nick and apply it on this part. On top. Let's go to the side a little bit. Actually, we can try to alpha lock the layer even, to keep all paint strokes inside. Then I will also make a couple of strokes at the lower part, trying to blend the colors together, like this. Now let's change the color to Kim. And continue painting on this side. Since the layer is alpha locked, we can totally make the brush size bigger. It will still stay inside. I continue making horizontal strokes, and we can darken this part of the boat at the lower side. If we make the size very small, we can add more paint strokes that will make it look like wood. Like this. Let's now make the color even darker, which is Stacy. I will increase the size again and paint more here. Make it the darkest. We can darken this part on top a little bit, since it will be in shadow that comes from the sail. I will also make it dark on top on the side. This way. And now we can add the highlight using Magda color. I will lower the size a little bit again and start highlighting it here on the front. Maybe we can try to add some orange. For example, Elizabeth. Just a few strokes. I'm doing it with a small size. Let me just darken it at the bottom a bit more. I will be using Stacy color. It is where the boat will be touching the water, so it needs to be dark. Okay. I think we can stop here. And now the boat is absolutely ready. Let's merge these two layers and start working on the background. We don't need the sketch anymore, so we can remove it from the canvas. Now let's insert the file for the background. It has this texture with oil. I will rotate it to 90 degrees clockwise and then tap Fit to Canvas. Let's stretch it a little bit to the sides, so it will cover the entire canvas, like this. I think we can sharpen it a little bit to see the texture better. Now let's place it under the sailboat and then invert. After that I will go to the color palette, grab the color called Stephanie and drag it on the canvas, somewhere here on the texture. Now it will look like this. Later we will add even more overlays, but right now let's work with this one. Before we even paint water, let's add reflection first. So we can duplicate the sailboat. Let's go to this one, then click on the arrow and flip it vertical. In the snapping I will enable magnetics and start dragging it down carefully. Let's place it like this, maybe even down. Alright. I will remove this part of the boat. Here we can try to use a razor. I will set it to medium hard airbrush and just delete it. Now we need to smudge this part of the sail. So let's click on this finger, and from the oil paint brushes, I will select Oil Paint 3. It is textured. I lower the opacity to 80% and the size can be set to 30% for now. Let's start making strokes like this, to the sides, inside and outside. Make them horizontally. We can also smudge these colors. Let's try to lower the size. And then make some lines longer and some of them shorter. Like this. We need to make this edge straight. So I will start making strokes horizontally here. Let's smudge this transition. And we can see the texture of this brush. I will continue making the strokes. And then go to the right side. Let's also smudge it this way. I will first work on the edge, make the strokes horizontally. Let's remove this line. And continue going up to make it horizontal as well. Let's smudge all this part. We can start from this dark side to add some dark color here. I will adjust this part a little bit. Let me make it more horizontal. And now let's make it darker. I will just remove this white line, smudge it this way. And also smudge the line. Now let's make this part darker. I will be using hue saturation brightness. Just lower the brightness. I think we can set it to around 44 or 43%. And maybe I will reduce saturation. Set it to 40%. Now we can deselect it. And add a few more strokes on top. First I will grab Kelly color and use oil paint too. Just make a few strokes. I will just lower the size to around 5 or 6% and just paint here and there for more colors. We can also do it on the right side. so it is not entirely blurry. Let's also pick this light color called Magda and add more highlights on the water, but I will lower the size to 2 or 3%. Start making horizontal strokes like this. You can make them brighter. Paint more. Some shorter lines. So it will get more like water. Okay. Now let's paint even more water. On the side. I will create another layer for that and continue using the same brush. I'm going to use a variety of different colors, starting from Stephanie to Leslie. So let's grab the first one. And with the same low brush size, I will start making more horizontal stroke. Maybe we can increase it a little bit, to around 5%. Let's go upper. I will make it even bigger. Maybe in the layers we can place it underneath. Let's switch to the next color, which is Vanessa, and continue making strokes to the sides. Let's also do it here, under the boat. Go a little upper. And continue changing the color. Next one will be Kevin. I will lower the size a little bit. And make paint strokes like this. Let's try to make it smaller. But make sure they go strictly horizontally. Now let's switch to Oscar. And since it is light, I will paint mostly on top. Just a little bit at the bottom. Let's now switch to Louise. I will increase the size a little bit and paint on the sides from the reflection to make the transition softer between orange and blue. Now let's select Wendy. And since it is darker, we can paint mostly at the bottom. Like this. Let's make it even darker here. Then I will select Marissa, which is even darker, and make a couple of more strokes to darken it. Let's also select Leslie. And make it here, between light green and blue, to make transition even softer. I think we can try to add some lighter colors, for example Gabriella. That'll work as highlight on this side. I will just switch a few more between the colors and make strokes here and there until I like how it looks. And all the colors are blended. Let me highlight it here maybe. We can also try to add white color or this very light yellow. Just a few lines, very thin. Okay, now I will just go and duplicate the layer. So we don't have to paint the left side. We can simply flip it horizontal and move it to the left. Like this. This part of the water is almost ready. We only need to add reflection from the boat. We can merge these two layers with the water texture. Then go to the layer with the sailboat. And using selection in freehand mode, outline the boat without the sail. Let's tap here and then copy and paste. It will appear on a new layer. Now let's click on the arrow, flip it vertical first and move it down. We can also use freeform transformation to make it more flat. Let's place it this way and then go to darken it. I will be using hue saturation brightness option from adjustments. Lower the brightness. We can set it to around 39%. Now I will grab a razor, which is set to oil paint 2. Its size is at 3%. I will make a few strokes from this side. They can be longer. And also on the opposite side. To erase it. Now we can also apply smudge tool, which is set to oil paint 3 as before. We just need to adjust the brush size. Let's try 5% and smudge it this way. Maybe we can increase it a little bit. And make more strokes to the sides to smudge the texture. We can make it go a little bit upper. Okay, I think this is fine. And now let's continue adding shadows. First I will go to this layer with the reflection and continue smudging it, stretching it a little upper. until it will match with the boat. In the end, we will get the result like this. Actually, we can try to pick dark blue color. Let's start with Stephanie. And use brush, which is oil paint too. With the size set to 3%, I will start adding shadows here under the boat, between the boat and the reflection. Let's make a few strokes going to the right side, this way. And I think I will smudge this part a little bit. It looks too straight to me. So I will click on the finger and go to the layer with the sailboat. I will just lower the size and smudge this edge a little bit, so it looks more like it is inside the water. Simply working on the edge and smudging it. I think it is better now. And we consider this part also ready. But I'd like to add even more water above. For that I will create a new layer above layer 4. Let's select another brush. It will be oil paint 4. It also has the color dynamics, but we don't have to select a secondary color here. It will be just getting lighter and darker during the process. I will start with a color called Kevin. The size is set to around 48%, and I will be drawing horizontally, lifting the pencil up from the canvas and making strokes like this. Let's go to the right now and paint here under the sail. It may go with a slight angle. I will just make a few more strokes. Let's make sure it looks organic. I will go a little down to blend it with the water texture that we painted before. Let's do it here on this side. And now I will change the color. This time I will switch to Vanessa, which is a little bit darker. Let's try to add shadows. So I will start painting here, from the sail to the right side, and also blending it with the previous color. Let's make a few strokes here on the side. And also on the left. Let's see how it looks now. And I think it is fine. I will just paint a little bit more. Like this. Alright. Now we only need to paint the background behind the sailboat. And I will be doing it on a separate layer. Let's create it right above the inserted image for the background. And I will try to make it very colorful. But first I will apply blue color. Let's continue using color Vanessa and also same brush. The size is still at 48%, but now instead of making horizontal strokes, I will make it vertical. I will be tapping same as we did on the sails. We can try to make strokes in different directions, and if you like you can rotate the canvas. Until we paint all this area. These shapes may be intersecting. And as you see, the color is also changing. Let's continue going down. I will make more strokes. Try to remove the gaps that we have. Later, this texture that we have on the background will help us to get volume. But right now we can paint it all. Let's go down. The right part is almost finished. Just a few more strokes. Let me paint here on the gaps. And then I will go to the left part. Also paint it quickly. Exactly the same way. Making strokes in different directions. And matching it here. They may be intersecting here as well. I will go down. And I think this technique is actually fun. You can also paint trees like that. And some other stuff. What I like the most is seeing how you apply the brushes after you fulfill a tutorial. So if you post your drawings on Instagram, please make sure to tag me. I always like to see your works. I'm finishing it here. I will just tap a few more times. And when this part is also ready, let's try to add some volume to the background. So I will do this. I will duplicate the layer first, set it to multiply mode, and lower the opacity to around 48%, or maybe 47%. Now let's click on the arrow, and move this layer just a little bit diagonally. 1 mm, without magnetics or snipping. We will only see the edge of the previous layer. That is lighter. Let's now check it. And I think it looks better. Like real oil paint. But this is not all yet. Let's try to make it colorful. So I will be creating one more layer. And with the same brush, I will apply a few more colors. We can use colors that we already applied, like Stephanie, Vanessa, Kevin, Oscar. But additionally I will apply Phil, Gabriella and Daniel. Just different combinations. I will try to make them lighter on top of the canvas and darker at the bottom. So let's proceed. I will first apply Elizabeth, I think. We have new layer already created. I'm not changing the size. And I will just step in more. Enough of this color. Let's select Gabriella. I will make more strokes. And I'm first working on the right side. Let's go down a little. We can select to Daniel. Tap a few more times. They can be intersecting here. I will also go down. Paint more. Let's now select Fill. Make more strokes. I will paint more on the side. Okay, at the bottom I want to make it very dark. So let's try Marissa. And also Stephanie. I think in the end we can even select white color. Why not? So it will be changing from white to dark gray due to the settings of the brush. Alright, I think enough on this side. I will just tap one more time. And now let's do the same what we did on the previous layer. So I'm duplicating it. I will also set it to multiply mode first. But since it got too dark, we can lower the opacity to 50% or so. Maybe 49. Now I will also move it. Just 1 mm. So it'll get volume. Much better now. And for the left side, I will simply group these two layers and then duplicate the group. Now let's flip it horizontal and move to the left side. Here we can use magnetics, so it goes strictly horizontal. I will place it here, and now we got this on both sides. Before we apply final overlay, let's not forget to add these tiny ropes on the sailboat. So I will create a layer here, above all layers. let's select oil paint 2 and make the size very low, like 1 or 2%. I will just draw thin lines, like this, going from the top of the sails to the boat. Also from here. And one more. I think we can also draw one going to the left. Okay. Now we can apply our final touch. So I will go and duplicate the inserted image. After that, drag it on top. I'd like to make it grayscale again, so I will just go and lower the saturation. Set it to none. After that, I will change the layer's blending mode and set it to color dodge. Now all these cracks will become visible. This is the interaction between the first layer and the last one, because if we didn't have it, it would look completely different. If you think that these cracks are too intense, we can lower the opacity of the layer. I think I will set it to around 73%, or maybe even 70%. And now our oil painting inspired by Leonid Afremov is ready. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or ideas, please write me in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.